Hi, I'm Tamsin and this is Andrew.
Hello.
And this is our skill acquisition program for fundamental skill development. Participant information, her name is Tamsin Wagner and she's 20 years old. Her skill level is beginner, and although she has previous athletic background with other sports but is new to basketball. Her reason for learning is because she's interested in playing basketball and wants to learn the basics.
The instructor information, her name is Anjali Rana. She's 19 years old. Her skill level is at expert as she's been playing basketball for years. Her reason for coaching is to help Tamsin to improve her basketball skills and teach her how to successfully perform a basketball layup.
Basketball dribble into layup shot. This is a gross continuous motor skill that will be learned in a closed environment to help promote concentration and better motor learning. The use of a closed environment promotes learning in a self-paced and controlled environment with no impact of external factors affecting learning. Motor learning is defined as the process underlying the acquisition of performance and retention of motor skills. The participant's motor ability or individual trait will influence motor learning of the skill, such like hand-eye coordination.
Introduction of the skill and assessment of learning. The top-down theory, information processing theory, is used to teach a skill where learning is enhanced through more effective information retrieval and storage. Motor learning of the participant is promoted by the hands-on teaching through show and tell and correction of errors. This theory follows a step-by-step sequence to break down the components of the skill for better understanding. The basketball dribble to layup is broken down in 3 parts. The first part is dribble plus running. The second part is adding 2 steps into it. And the last part is jump plus the shot. For the participant to fully grasp the requirements of the skill, they need to be paying attention and focusing closely on every aspect of the skill. Using a top-down approach is beneficial for the participant because 1, it shows exactly how a skill is supposed to be executed, and 2, you get immediate feedback after the execution of the skill and you can consider critiques. This approach also requires the use of memory, encourages decision making, and enhances the processing of information.
The participant's learning environment. Due to the participant being at a beginner skill level, this means that they are in the cognitive stage of learning, meaning that they are fairly unfamiliar with the sport/skill that they need, and they need to learn the basics such like dribbling, how to shoot, both technique and accuracy, as well as the basic game rules of basketball. The cognitive stage is all about trial and error for the participant, and it's important that they produce multiple errors during the learning process. This will help to identify wrong techniques and get them to work towards solving the problem.
The 4-week training program. So this is just a schedule of the whole program from Monday to Thursday. It incorporates week 1, 2, and 3. All the drills are practiced in a closed and controlled environment. Due to a basketball layup being in a highly complex skill for a cognitive learner, part practice type will be used, breaking down the skill through segmentation, a part training method that separates the skill into its component parts. It makes it easier for the learner to perfect each skill before putting it all together.
So the 4-week training program, week 1 is dribbling skills, which is first on the spot, then running. Week 2, dribbling up into the first stage of a layup, which is the 2 steps. Week 3 is dribbling up into the layup and aiming the ball to the side of the square with the intent of aiming without the intent of shooting. Week 4 is then putting all the skills together with the intent to score.
Expert demonstration. So Andrew is an experienced basketball player of many years who performs a successful layup for Tamsin to refer to. This initial skill demonstration shows the entire skill, highlighting its complexity. Later, as the weeks are broken down into different stages of a layup, Andrew demonstrates each stage along the way. Cognitive learners learn best from a model when they can relate to them. Andrew is similar in age, height, and gender to Tamsin. Tamsin's self-efficacy when watching Andrew improves, which often results in better performance of the learner.
So week 1 drills. The first drill was on the spot switching between hands. This drill will help Tamsin to familiarise herself with the dribbling techniques so she can get confident with controlling the ball. The drill 2 was in and out of cones, increasing speed as drill progresses. Weaving in between cones whilst dribbling will help Tamsin to use her ball control as well as coordinate her body to run with the ball. So Tamsin's dribble prior to the drills, her hand is flat and her knees and feet are together, and she isn't bouncing the ball high enough, which is the wrong technique. Tamsin's dribble and run, also prior to the drills, is where her hand is flat and she is switching between hands, which isn't needed in a layout. Week 1 results. Tamsin's dribble after the drills have been successfully done. Her hand is then spread apart to grip the ball. Her knees and feet are apart. She's standing up straight and the ball is bounced higher, which is the correct technique. Tamsin's dribble and run after the drills is where her hand is spread for better ball control and she isn't switching her hands anymore. Week 2 is the dribbling plus the jump. Week 2 drills. By week 2, Tamsin has learnt to successfully dribble and run with the ball. Now in week 2, she must learn the correct footwork and jump prior to shooting. Tamsin was asked to perform dribbling whilst running towards the hoop and complete 2 steps before running in the air as if she was to shoot. At first, she was taking more than 2 steps, but eventually after practice, she mastered the steps. The first video shows Anjo demonstrating the correct stepping technique, and the second video shows Tamsin's first attempt at the steps. As you can see, she took too many steps. After practicing, Tamsin is able to successfully complete the 2-step jump stage of the layup.
Week 3 is dribbling into a layup plus shooting. Tamsin was instructed to perform a layup and practice solely on shooting the ball upwards. Tamsin then had to perform these steps again, but this time aimed to shoot the ball at the end of the hoop. At the end of the week, the learner had to replicate these steps, but additionally also begin to aim the ball at the right side of the square in the basketball ring's backboard. By incorporating these steps, we aim to get the learner from the cognitive to the autonomous and associative stages. The different steps allowed for the refining of the skill to occur, and Tamsin was able to develop strategies to eliminate complications like traveling with the ball before shooting and missing the right side of the backboard. These drills enabled the learner to have greater consistency with her performance and perform the skill with confidence. These are all characteristics of the associative and autonomous stages of learning, which shows that these drills were effective. The concept of Gentile's model was also utilized throughout this training program in the initial stages of the skill. Tamsin had to get an idea of the skill and work out a movement pattern that was tailored to her abilities. Considering that the training program was performed in regulatory conditions that had a stable environment, further diversion of the skill was employed as the training program had taken place in 2 different environmental conditions. The social cognitive theory was also used when designing week 3 of the training program, as a representation of an expert basketballer was used as a template for error detection and was able to guide the learner's performance. Bandura's theory of observational behavior was also used in making sure that Tamsin was able to observe and pay attention to expert movements in hopes of retaining and producing the skill in a similar way and further reinforcing it into the future. This training method separates the skills into its components. That way, Tamsin is able to become proficient at each part of the skill before incorporating them into a whole skill. This is the week 3 results. After continuous practice, Tamsin's aim began to become better, and eventually she started to shoot more hoops. This is week 4, putting all the steps together to successfully perform a layup shot. In this week, all of the skills that Tamsin had learned in the previous weeks were put together main aim of this week was to successfully perform all the steps of the skill. Tamsin can now consistently perform a basketball layup with the correct technique. The week 4 results. Throughout this program, an external visual imagery third-party perspective was used, particularly cognitive specific imagery, permitting the learner to engage in better memory of the skill. In terms of practice variability, variable practice instead of constant practice was used, as the learner had to perform different steps of a specific skill on different days. As the weeks went on, the context and movement characteristics of the program had become more challenging. It was decided to use a variable practice, as this has been proven to result in greater retention and learning of the skill. Practice distribution involving shorter but more frequent sessions was also applied, as the skill involved high energy requirements and was quite new and complex to the learner. Implementation of the action plan reconstruction hypotheses in this program also enabled reconstruction of plans and different steps of the training program, as the solving of a new problem like learning dribbling one week, then shooting another, allowed for active problem solving, thereby benefiting the learner and adapting her to think quicker on her feet. In terms of feedback, augmented feedback was utilized mainly throughout the training program. Sources of augmented feedback were video replays, which showed Tamsin which cues to focus on and how to interpret them, and additionally verbal feedback was also used to help the learner understand the skill and its key requirements for its performance. Thank you.
Thank you.